November 27, 2019. Off the coast of Galicia, in northwest Spain, something surfaces. It's not a fishing boat. It's not a Coast Guard vessel. It's a hand-built fiberglass hull, roughly the length of a city bus. Inside, 152 bales of cocaine, 3,000 kilograms. A street value running into the hundreds of millions of euros. The crew had been at sea for weeks. They crossed the entire Atlantic Ocean without a single port stop, without radar detection, without being seen. Spanish authorities had been tracking the vessel for days, tipped off by the EU Maritime Analysis and Operations Center. But here's what stunned investigators more than the cocaine itself. This wasn't a speedboat. It wasn't a container hidden inside a cargo ship. It was a custom-built narco submarine engineered somewhere in South America, designed specifically to disappear. And it almost worked. The question nobody could answer right away was the obvious one. If this one got caught, how many others made it through? What they actually were. Most people hear narco submarine and picture something military. A steel hull, a periscope, a crew of trained operators running silent at depth. What Cartel's actually built was stranger than that, and in many ways, smarter. The correct term for most of these vessels is a semi-submersible. They don't fully submerge. Instead, they ride with nearly the entire hull below the waterline, leaving only a small cockpit, an exhaust pipe, and sometimes a thin snorkel visible above the surface. From a helicopter at altitude, in open ocean, against wave chop, that profile is almost nothing. The first confirmed seizure of one of these craft happened in November 2006. U.S. Coast Guard and partner agencies intercepted a vessel nicknamed Bigfoot, roughly 100 miles off the coast of Costa Rica. Wood and fiberglass construction, 4-man crew, approximately 3 tons of cocaine aboard. That single vessel carried cargo with a street value in the tens of millions of dollars. The vessel itself? Somewhere between $1 and $2 million to build. Run that math forward. Even if authorities intercept 2 out of every 3 vessels, the economics still work. The cargo on the one that gets through pays for all 3 builds and returns a profit margin most legitimate industries would envy. This was never just smuggling. It was an engineering solution to a logistics problem. And cartels were only getting started. The jungle shipyard. The construction process is where the scale of this operation gets real. These vessels weren't built in ports. They weren't assembled in factories. They were built in remote jungle shipyards along Colombia's Pacific coast. Hidden in mangrove channels and river bends, you could only reach by small boat. In February 2011, Colombian Navy forces seized a 31-meter vessel in Timbiquí, a small coastal municipality in Cauca department. The hull was fiberglass and Kevlar, the same material used in bulletproof vests, capable of traveling approximately 9 meters below the waterline. Cargo capacity, up to 8 tons. Think about what that construction problem actually looks like. Every diesel engine, every battery bank, every sheet of fiberglass resin had to be transported through dense jungle terrain to a hidden river site. No crane, no dry dock, no port infrastructure of any kind. Workers solved the launch problem by building directly beside the water and sliding the finished hull in. By 2010, when Ecuadorian authorities seized a fully operational narco submarine near the Colombia-Ecuador border with DEA intelligence assistance, the vessels had grown more sophisticated still. That craft used hundreds of battery units alongside its diesel engines, a diesel-electric hybrid system that reduced heat signatures and acoustic output at the same time. The engineering knowledge required to solve ventilation, waterproofing, ballast control, and diesel exhaust management in an enclosed hull, all built without formal shipyard infrastructure. That's a level of technical problem-solving most observers simply weren't prepared for. Colombian Navy Captain Cristian Andres Guzman Echeverry confirmed after a 2023 seizure that conditions inside these vessels were dangerous enough to kill the crew before they ever reached their destination. That detail matters. We'll come back to it. How they disappeared. The core engineering achievement of the Narco submarine program wasn't propulsion, it was invisibility. Radar works by sending out a signal and measuring what bounces back. A steel-hulled vessel returns a strong, clear signal. A fiberglass hull, riding low against wave height, with most of its mass below the waterline, returns almost nothing. The semi-submersible profile sits right at the threshold where wave clutter and the vessel's radar cross-section become nearly indistinguishable. At night, in open ocean, in moderate sea state, even trained operators struggle to separate the contact from background noise. Thermal detection presents a similar problem. Diesel engines generate heat, but the ocean absorbs and disperses that signature fast. The exhaust systems on more advanced builds were designed to vent below the waterline, cooling exhaust gases before they could register on aerial infrared sensors. Navigation relied on GPS units, marine radios, and dead reckoning as a backup when electronics had to go dark. The scuttling mechanism completed the evasion system. If intercepted, the crew could open flood valves, disable bilge pumps, and sink the vessel within minutes. No vessel, no cocaine, no evidence. The crew would then claim to be distressed fishermen. Before October 2008, this tactic worked legally as well as physically. In international waters, without a recoverable vessel or cargo, prosecution was nearly impossible. The U.S. Drug Trafficking Vessel Interdiction Act, signed by President George W. Bush on October 13, 2008, was written specifically to close that gap. It criminalized the operation of a stateless submersible or semi-submersible vessel in international waters with intent to evade detection, regardless of whether drugs were ever recovered. Cartels noted the change. Then they adapted. The human cost. March 2023. The Pacific Ocean, off the Colombian coast. A Colombian Navy patrol intercepts a semi-submersible running without distress signals. They board it. 2 crew members are dead. 2 more are alive, but barely. The vessel is still carrying close to 3 tons of cocaine. Colombian Navy Captain Cristian Andres Guzman Echeverry confirmed the likely cause of death was toxic fume inhalation. Diesel exhaust in an enclosed, poorly ventilated hull over days at sea. The men who crewed these vessels weren't cartel leadership. They weren't engineers or architects of the operation. They were recruited from coastal communities, often with limited economic alternatives, and placed inside a fiberglass tube with a diesel engine, a GPS unit, and instructions for what to do if they saw a helicopter. No toilet in early designs. Temperatures inside the hull during tropical passages regularly exceeded what the human body can handle without serious physical deterioration. The 2006 Bigfoot crew included 2 Colombians, 1 Guatemalan, and 1 Sri Lankan national. The 2026 Azores seizure crew included 3 Colombians and 1 Venezuelan. These were not men with options. Coastal unemployment rates in Cauca and Nariño departments, where many builds originated, consistently ran above 40%. The cartel's cost-benefit calculation was explicit. A vessel costs between $1 and $2 million. A crew is cheaper still. If the vessel sinks, if the crew dies, if the cargo's lost, the organization absorbs it and builds another. The men inside the hull were as disposable as the fiberglass around them. But the cartel was about to make even that calculation irrelevant. The arms race. Law enforcement didn't stand still. After the 2008 legislation, Joint Interagency Task Force South, operating out of Key West, Florida, began coordinating U.S. and partner nation maritime interdiction across the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean. By 2019, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Valiant intercepted a semi-submersible carrying an estimated 12,000 pounds of cocaine in a single operation. But the removal rate told a different story. According to U.S. Coast Guard annual performance data, the cocaine removal rate from non-commercial vessels in the maritime transit zone in 2020 sat at 7.4%. Naval Postgraduate School modeling estimated that nearly 75% of cocaine entering the United States moved through semi-submersible and low-profile vessel routes. Every enforcement upgrade pushed cartel engineering further. Radar detection improved, so hull profiles got lower. Infrared became more capable, so exhaust systems went underwater. The 2008 law closed the scuttling loophole, so construction quality improved to reduce interception risk in the first place. Then, in July 2025, Colombian authorities near Santa Marta identified something new: an autonomous semi-submersible, no crew, equipped with antennas, cameras, and a Starlink satellite modem. The vessel could be guided remotely, which meant no crew to arrest, no crew to prosecute, no crew to flip as informants. The human cost calculus that cartels had always quietly accepted was being engineered out of the system entirely. What started as a fiberglass boat in a jungle river had become, in under 4 decades, an unmanned maritime drone program. In November 2024, Colombian Navy Vice Admiral Juan Ricardo Rozo announced the results of Operation Orion. 62 countries participated, 225 tons of cocaine seized, 6 semi-submersibles intercepted. Among the routes identified, a new corridor running from the Colombian Pacific toward Australia. The operation was the largest cocaine seizure in recorded history. 6 weeks later, on January 26, 2026, Portuguese authorities intercepted a semi-submersible near the Azores in rough Atlantic conditions. Nearly 9 tons of cocaine aboard. Estimated street value, 600 million euros. 3 Colombians and 1 Venezuelan were arrested. Part of the vessel's structure collapsed during the interception. 35 bales went into the ocean. The Portuguese Navy, Air Force, and Policia Judiciaria coordinated the operation. Artur Vaz, head of Portugal's National Anti-Drug Unit, confirmed the seizure publicly. Here's what those 2 operations, taken together, actually tell us. The largest cocaine bust in history happened in 2024. A record Atlantic seizure followed 6 weeks later. And in between, cartels were already testing autonomous vessels with Starlink modems. The 7.4% removal rate from 2020 Coast Guard data hasn't meaningfully shifted the supply curve. What began in a Colombian jungle river with fiberglass sheets and diesel engines carried in by hand now crosses oceans, dodges satellites, and increasingly needs no crew at all. The vessel off Galicia in 2019 was treated as an anomaly. The data since then suggests it was a preview. If you want to see the next shadow organization we're exposing, click and subscribe on the screen right now.